Joining us now is Amanda Ramirez. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much.
Lovely to see you here. So, Amanda, you recently have a ton of accolades for a project that you did, documentary style, called Concrete Rose.
Yes.
What is the inspiration behind that project?
Christina Green, who is the subject matter. I met her last summer. Person that you had on the show, Gia Albergo Del Mar, wanted to have like this little networking event at her apartment in Long Beach. And a mutual friend of ours said, I want to bring my Aunt Christina. And Gia met her already. She's like, girl, she's fabulous. You got to meet her. So we meet, and I don't know how we got on the subject of what she's been through, but we got to that point, and there was a lot to unpack. So Christina Green is currently the Senior Director of Housing at the Marcus Garvey Housing Projects in Brooklyn, New York, which works under the Osborne Association. And what the Osborne Association does is that they are an advocacy group for newly released felons who need a leg up, basically. They need a place to stay, they need education where it's vocational, formal, and it's a place where they can live temporarily while they get on their feet.
So that
And
they're less likely to be
so they're
incarcerated
less
again.
likely to,
Right.
to succumb to recidivism.
Okay.
And where Christina comes into play is that she was convicted in 2016 and she served her time 2019. So it was about 6 months before the pandemic. She is from the Hudson Valley, so she decided to move to New York, which is that's a culture shock to go from Hudson Valley to the New York metro area. And she went through various programs to basically not only combat, if you want to use the word, but also sustain her sobriety. She suffered from substance use disorder. And she was a substance user for over 30 years.
Long time. Yeah.
And I thought of you immediately, but then bring her on the show, but I was like, there's a lot to unpack. And then Gia says, well, why don't you just do it yourself, shoot it yourself? And that's when, I didn't know what to do, but I sat on it for a while because what I wanted to do was give her a platform where she could be as free to talk about what she needed to talk about. I said, ultimately, if I can pull this off, it's your story. We're just there to frame it up, and we will protect you as much as we can and basically get the story out there. She was game. So from, I want to say August, I really didn't know what I was doing until October. My mother didn't even know I was shooting it till like 2 weeks before
Okay.
because I've learned from past experiences when you talk a lot about something and it doesn't come to
Oh, I know,
fruition,
right?
people are like, so what happened? What happened? So I said, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. And I was fortunate enough to basically hire people from your show. So shout out to you, first of all, putting me on to, help produce some of the segments, but also to those connections and actually be able to formulate what I needed to do. So we shot it in January. We shot it on a Friday. And prior to that, you've had her on the show, Lauren Martin, I became friendly with. Originally, I met her being her stand-in for an episodic. You brought it back, we met, and her father passed away on my birthday.
Oh my goodness.
So I reached out to her just to see how she was doing. And somehow we got on the subject where I try to like distract, you try to distract people when they're going through it,
Bringing them joy. Yeah.
bringing them, so what's up, because she's an actor and she's a producer. So what are you doing? And she said, well, what about you? And then I said, well, I don't really want to talk about it, but I'm going to bend your ear a little bit. And then she mentioned what her father did. Her father was a district judge in New England, and he presided over cases like Christina.
Hmm.
The opposite end of that relationship was that she had a brother who suffered from substance use disorder. So she was pretty much, as a family member, on the fence. She had someone that worked in the judicial
Wow.
system trying to help people out and to try to, assist them as best, even though they were convicted, but to bring them along so they did not fall to recidivism. But at the same time, she had a brother who suffered. So she says to me, well, if you need me to talk, I will. So I'm like, okay, great. But then I'm like, how do I make it relatable to Christina? And while I was doing housework, it came to me. And then I called her back and I said, if I schedule a meeting with you and Christina, would you want to interview her? Because the intention was that I was going to be off camera, which I'm normally at on the show, and just throw out questions. But I figured there was the connection if they were up to it. So we had like I want to say like a first date virtually to see if they got along. And it was a Tuesday at 2 o'clock, and they were both pressed for time. And we get on it, and for the first 20 minutes, I was literally like this as they're going at it, like they were old friends.
Wow. Just
So
natural synergy between them, and it
yeah,
just worked.
and it worked. And then
Okay.
on the I was like a duck, because on the outside I was very calm, but on the inside, like my heart was going like this. I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, how am I going to pull this off? So they agreed, and then they started talking, and then the commonality was all our fathers passed during critical points in our life. So I was like, okay, this is a sign. Leading into it, Christina got sick 2 weeks before the shoot, had no voice. So I was like, okay. Week before, I get sick. Mind you, we're not interacting with each other. The week of, Lauren got sick. So I'm thinking, I don't know how I'm gonna pull this off. So we shot it in Brooklyn. I had a meeting with the director of communications through Osborne, because what it is basically she wanted to represent the organization. So I had to basically have myself vetted and get cleared and basically tell them, I just want her story out there. I want your blessing. And they were beyond receptive. So they made sure we had parking so we didn't have to park on the street. And they just took care of us as far as like, let us know the day, we got you. And then it turns out that one of her coworkers was our logistics person, he was our point person. And then one of the residents, I didn't know he was a resident, he volunteered. So he wound up being our set uncle. He wound up being our crafty that day. So he took care of everybody. He threw on some R&B music. He would say, Donna, your phone just rang. You might want to pick it up. And Amanda, you left your coat here. So it just worked out. And so it took about 8 to 11 weeks to edit. And then, I didn't have a timeline because a lot of the kids, like, they work here. They were in school or they were starting jobs. So I'm trying to work around everybody's schedule to get it done. And then finally, I just said, I'm just going to submit it to film festivals. The intention was to eventually wind up on TV, like
Okay.
in some
Like a
way.
series of some sort?
Like a
Well, how
series.
long is it right now? How long
So
is
it's
the
a
piece?
half an hour series, a half an
Lovely.
hour in terms of minutes, but I wanted
Okay.
to get it on like, not necessarily public access, but more so like an advocacy channel
Sure.
to talk about this organization that exists in New York. And then I just started submitting it. And then like within like a week, we were not, I submitted to Sweden. We were like a semi-finalist in Sweden. I just took a chance, submitted for the tellies because I looked at it, I was like, this is a beautifully shot.
Yeah, this
This
is
is
good.
beautiful.
It's mine, but even if it wasn't mine, it's good. Right.
Take the ego out of it. I'm like, this looks good. So I submitted into advocacy and causes, and it came in second, like behind Delta. So I was like, listen, I don't have Delta airline money. I don't need to like plug them, but it did well. And then it just started taking off from there. And right now, that's where we're at. So we're still on the film festival circuit. I feel like I'm big in Europe. Apparently, the European festival market really, really have embraced it, which is
Okay.
great. I think maybe it's a cultural thing because there's this presumption that, and I'm just saying, just from an observational standpoint, that Americans don't take care of their own. We don't have national health care. There's certain things that are not in play that are normally common in Europe. So they've really embraced Christina's story. You had Christina on virtually. She was excited. And I told Christina, I said, I said, what is your goal? What do you want to do? She goes, I want my own TED Talk. I was like, okay.
Wow, good.
I got you. So if you have this by the end of the festival circuit, hopefully this will bring you your TED Talk. And, I'm sitting on your couch. It's supposed to be back there. So that's where
So you have been a producer on our show for a while now.
a
Like we met,
long time.
like we've known each other for a really long time, and then it was COVID, and so we were able to stay because I was like essential services as long as our guests were
Yes.
6 feet apart. But there were days that you and I were just like watching the paint dry here, right? And now to come full forward, whether it's you or Evan or so many of our talented team of people, it's fun to support each other's shows and events. So that's why I wanted to have you on, Amanda, because I joke around and I say that, what do I say about you? That you're most well-read, educated, smart, savvy.
My OCD and my nerdiness
It pays
have
off.
worked
And
out for me.
obviously you poured it all into this project, Concrete Rose. So congratulations. You
Thank
earned
you.
every you deserve every accolade that it gets. Continued success to you. And who knows? Maybe this will become a series.
Yes,
That would be lovely.
that's the goal.
Okay, so
So
let's send that up to our production people. All
yes,
right, hey,
yes, to the
everybody that's
production
listening.
gods that it be, and I have something in the pipeline right now, and I don't want to talk about it, but it is getting submitted to a major festival program to get funding. And that was the thing. This was a labor of love because the timeline did not allow me. Grant writing is hard.
Yes.
And this one thing I will say, and unfortunately, in the media market that we're in right now, you have people that are very well known directors, screenwriters that are competing with the unknowns for grant money. So,
It's going to help you.
it was a huge risk. I am grateful. I'm broke, but I'm happy. So that's where I'm at.
And you also are a member of the wait, New York Women in Film
Yes.
and Television,
Yes,
right?
I got to know Cynthia Lopez, who was the czarina, the czar of the New York City Film Commission for a while, and she, took a break from it for family issues, and she's come back, and I got to meet her through one of my mentors, Luis Moreno, and she encouraged me to do it, and that led to us being nominated for their festival with iWomen TV, which was great because I just did. She's like, "You should do it," and I submitted, and I didn't think anything of it. And then, everyone's congratulating each other, and I'm like, "Oh, we didn't get anything," but they said whether you got it or not, you would get an email. I was like, "Well, I didn't get anything. I'm fine." But then, while I was my OCD cleaning out my spam, there it was. Congratulations. So yeah,
There you
so
go.
that's where we're at.
I'm so happy for you. Really, genuinely, sincerely, so happy for you, Amanda, and wish you all the best. So stay tuned for more. This is what it's like. This is our day to day, right? It's not only are we creating television for our audience, but we also are working on a whole lot of other projects. We want to hear about your projects. We want to celebrate you. So reach out to us. We would love to hear your stories of success. We want to participate in your journey, and we want to be the cheerleaders for you, just like you're the cheerleaders for us. Because without you, our audience, we have no show. And if you can, please check out Concrete Rose. Be well.